It's time for Westside Technology Declassified, where we reveal the inner workings of technology operations at District 66. This is episode number 6, recorded September 9th, 2016. Matt Lee and Greg Betts are here with me again, and today we'll be giving the declassified scoop on last night's visit to Westside by the Nebraska Attorney General Doug Peterson, plus some overlooked items, some new Google features, and a secret look into the new Apple teacher training program. And who knows what else. Dr. Lee and Dr. Betts, how are you today?
Good, good. How are you doing, Paul?
Very good.
Hey there, Paul. Doing well.
So last night, the Attorney General came to Westside. I wasn't able to make it, but Paul and Greg, could you give me a little recap about what he talked about?
Doug Peterson, the Attorney General from Nebraska, came to Westside Middle School last night about 6 o'clock and gave a presentation on digital security that had a fair number of administrators and teachers and parents there, but it was a really good, and we had some kids there as well. So he made some really good points about digital security and how it can really impact the lives of not only students but adults as well.
And Paul, I mean, his message was spot on with, he had 3 big points that he talked about of act online as you would in person, because you are not invisible online. He had some great messages about sexting, and it's really kind of alarming, some of the messages and stories that he told about just, young people getting in trouble with that. And his message with that at the end was treat yourself with respect. And then cyberbullying, the state of Nebraska has really tightened up their consequences for people acting in that way online with cyberbullying. A lot of that is taken care of by school systems, and if law enforcement needs to get involved, they do have some pretty good things in place now to help curtail people who want to be a cyberbully.
Yeah, and he really stressed that there are some really severe actual legal actions that you can get in trouble with as far as pictures of young people. He had some really interesting stories of older adults that were impersonating teenagers in order to make contact with other teenagers, and then working to ultimately schedule meetings with them, and pretty serious thing that our kids need to be aware of. They need to be careful about. When he mentioned one of his investigators that spends a lot of time in one room with just many screens monitoring this type of traffic, and that investigator said that the most important piece of advice he could give parents is to keep the laptops and the cell phones out of students' bedrooms where they have their doors closed and into their own little private world. So just one kind of thing that we've talked about in the past that really we encourage to have our Westside Technology. A really good place for students to use it is at the kitchen table or at the dining room table. So.
Yeah, he had some really good messages with, parents, if you're paying too for the phone bill, you probably should have some control over where that phone is and when students can access it. And he had a good message too about, maybe thinking about trying not to be on your phone as much and not texting as much, and maybe talking to people in person and calling them versus just texting. So it was a great message, and he did a fantastic job last night.
Yeah, it was great. Okay, let's segue into some new items here. Matt, do you have something to tell us about some new Google features that are now available?
Sure, thanks, Paul. So one of the things that we get periodically with our use of Google as a district is kind of early access to some new tools. And one of those I wanted to show you here today helps spice up the email a little bit. So as you can see here, this is kind of the traditional Gmail view where you can go in and see your email and reply to it. And that works really well for a lot of people. Sometimes people want something a little different. Variety is the spice of life. And Google has re-envisioned what they think email and what the inbox should be. And so if you think about this basic interface, it's been around pretty much since Gmail launched. And so it's kind of time for something new. So one thing we have access to now is what Google is calling Inbox by Google. And so all staff and even all students have access to try out Google Inbox, and they can get there by typing inbox.google.com. And if they're already signed into email, they're going to be taken right to their new look of what the inbox will look like. And so the first time you sign in, it comes up and it says, hey, welcome to Inbox. It tells you some of the new features that it has, like the bundling of emails. So if it detects a lot of emails that are of the same sort, like a mailing list or relating to a package or relating to a trip you might take, it'll bundle those together to make them easy to find. You can put reminders in your email box. One of my favorites is you have the ability to snooze emails and reminders. So if you say, I can't deal with this message today, but it's important and I know I have time tomorrow, you can have it disappear from your inbox right now and then come back into your inbox tomorrow morning or next week or someday have it come back. So it's a way to help you manage if you get a lot of different emails. Like I said before, it'll bundle it by promotions or purchases just to help you keep track of things. And then the last bit of setup is it says, okay, which ones do you want us to start to bundle? So if you want all of your social media accounts, Twitter updates, Facebook updates to get bundled together, you can turn that on. So I'll just leave it with that for now. And so once you're in, you can click the 3 bars on the left to get more of the traditional view of this is my inbox, this is messages that have been snoozed. What they're calling done is what traditionally was the all mail or the archive view. And so you'll be able to see all of the emails that you've ever gotten. And then, of course, reminders, sent messages. And then you can see bundles, saved messages, etc. So what I really like in the way to deal with email for me is I'd like to go through and I almost use my inbox as a to-do list. And so each message is something I need to get done. And so if I click on this, I can see the message. It'll actually go through and learn how I reply to messages and give me some options of kind of canned messages that I can send out. If I want to try that, I can just say, thank you, and then hit send. And then if I'm done with that, I can hit the check mark, and that removes it from my inbox and puts it over here in the done category so I know I don't have to deal with that message anymore.
Okay, Matt, thanks for showing us that. I think we should probably move along. You want to talk a little bit about all the staff members here at Westside have to do the Safe Schools training, and I think you had a little tip for one of the things that you've heard that a lot of people have requested help with.
Sure, yeah. One of the things that I found a lot is when people go to launch the suicide prevention training, they get a message that looks something like this, and it says, hey, your browser is blocking pop-ups, and then they can't get into the training. Fortunately, you can easily allow that to get fixed. In Chrome, it's super simple. So what I would do is in Chrome, up here on the top left, there's a little icon next to the star, and it says pop-ups were blocked. If I click on that, I can come down here and say always allow pop-ups from nebraska.cognito.com. And if I hit done, now if I go back and hit the launch button one more time, that training will launch properly for me.
Oh, hey,
Okay.
Matt, would you go back there real quick if you can?
Sure.
So right there, right next to the left of launch, it says need to recertify.
Okay.
People will need to click on that to recertify for 2016, and it will usually show their certification that they completed in 2015.
Okay, good tip.
Okay, so in general, Matt, though, for pop-ups, we want to keep those blocked because there's websites that will be popping up all kinds of annoying ads and things like that. But the nice thing about what you showed is that it just allows you to enable that just for that specific site, and then ongoing that will last for that site into the future, correct?
Yep, it's just for that site, and it stays with that as long as you don't reset your preferences or anything like that in the browser.
Okay. Well, thanks. That's a good tip. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about on the theme of overlooked gems. One of the things that we have on each of our laptops, our Mac laptops, is when we have a Finder window open on our computer, we have what we call our spotlight. I better turn on screen sharing here, right, guys? So here we've got a regular Finder window that I just opened up by double-clicking on my hard drive. And most people, and a lot of people, just use what we call the spotlight window to do a search, for whatever we want to do. But there are times when that doesn't really do what you need it to do. I'm not a super organized person where I have a subset of folders inside another set of folders inside another set of folders to file my things. So a lot of times I just dump stuff into one folder off my desktop when I'm cleaning up. So I find that using the full find capabilities of the Mac is very useful, and you can get to it in a couple different ways by going to the File menu and going Find, or by doing Command F. And here's where you can actually build some pretty complicated find rules in order to locate things. For instance, the template that we use to do the little script that I used to do the script intro for the podcast, I never can figure out where I saved that as. So what I'll do is in this find, I will create a rule that says, okay, show me stuff that the name contains pages, because I know it's a pages file, but so then it'll show me all of the pages files. But then I'm going to hit the plus over here on the right, and then I'm also going to say, well, I know the name also contains podcast. And there we go. It'll go through and search the entirety of my computer and then just show me things that match those two criteria, and then I can click on it and then see actually where it is located. So there's a lot of capabilities here that you can use. For instance, you can do, if your hard drive is full, that never happens to any of us, does it, Dr. Betts?
Well, maybe just weekly. Not daily anymore, just weekly.
But sometimes you just want to go, okay, I want to find all the files that are really big. So I want find my files that are greater than like 300 megabytes.
I would say for mine it would be 2 gig or higher.
But then it would show, and you can sort by size then to find the biggest ones. Some of them are ones that you're not going to want to throw away, but there are other ones that are obviously you'll be able to say, oh, well, I really don't need that anymore, and then you can just drag that to your trash and empty your trash. So there's all kinds of things that you can choose here. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, you could just click on kind. Like once you get to that point, you could click on kind over here on your right side next to size.
Mm-hmm.
And then that would get rid of all your applications so you weren't tempted to accidentally delete one of those.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay.
But hey, you know what? That is a way faster than going to Spotlight, searching, and then scrolling through everything that it pulls up.
Yeah, so there's a lot of choices there. If you know you created a file within the last month or so, you can go created date is within the last 30 days, and it shows you all of those. So you just have to look through those pull-down menus there, and I don't think there's any limit on the number of rules that you can use in order to narrow down and find what you need to find. So,
Paul, let me ask you this. I sometimes always search for like pages documents that I made in the last 10 days. Is there a way to make a search for pages documents in the last 10 days that I could always keep going back to, or do I have to keep building those searches every time?
You can also do a new smart folder. Is that what you're shooting for?
I was thinking you can save that search.
Oh, okay.
So if you build the search,
why don't you switch over to your screen and do that? Because I would do a smart folder, but why don't you go show how to save one of those short searches that we generated?
All right, yeah. So one of the things, and this is kind of cool, if I go back and I go to find here, I could go kind is, and maybe I want to look for just documents. And so I start to see all my documents there. But then I also want to do last modified is within the last 10 days. And then maybe I want to go also on there. The name contains, what's something that would be? Name contains curriculum. And so if I'm often looking for things like that, I can come up here and I can hit save. And then it says save searches, and you can add to the find bar. So I could say curriculum documents. And then so now if I'm in this application folder, wherever I'm at, I can come over here and click curriculum documents, and it processes what those criteria were that I had set up. So within the last 10 days contains curriculum, and it's some sort of a document. And that search will always be there for me, and it'll get updated in real time. So it's just if you find yourself always looking for those things, or maybe you want to have something set up that says, show me all the documents that are bigger than, in Dr. Betts' case, 2 gigabytes. And so I always want to see my biggest files so I know if I want to get rid of them or not. That ability to save that search adds it to the sidebar.
Okay, so we're starting to run out of time. Our last item, Matt, do you want to give us a little bit of a super secret look into Apple's new teacher training program, which from the little bit you've told us already sounds very, very cool. So
it is very cool. And while I'm doing this, Paul, I think you're still sharing your screen here with us.
I'm sorry.
So we want to see your face to end the podcast with.
So have I been doing that the whole time?
Oh, just for the last couple minutes or so. That's all right. So one of the things that Apple just launched after the big event this week was something that they're calling Apple Teacher. And so what Apple Teacher is, it's a professional learning program that helps you kind of build capacity in yourself. And so it's going to teach you some of the basic skills of Mac, of iPad, and then of the main Apple apps. And it's open to everybody. And so we're going to encourage Westside staff members to go through and start participating in Apple Teacher. And I think we even talked about, Dr. Betts, right, that we were going to make a page on Area 66 kind of highlighting and showcasing all of the teachers in the district that have completed and have become an Apple teacher. So I think that's pretty cool. So to get there, it works best in Safari. And what you would do is type appleteacher.apple.com. And I'm going to add a link in the show notes here with the direct link to it. But it's appleteacher.apple.com. And what you need to sign in with, and this is kind of key, you'll need to sign in with an Apple ID that's your own. So if you have an Apple ID that you've created for use in the App Store, that you have for your own for Apple Music or any, you just have to have your own personal Apple ID to sign in with, and because that ties the badges which you can get and the certification to you as a person. So you'll just need an Apple ID.
Wait, Matt, hold on a minute. I'm going to play a sound and then I need you to say badges.
Okay.
Right, you ready?
Badges!
Yeah, we got some badges, all right.
Greg likes his badges. So I'm going to sign in here with an Apple ID that I have. And the first time you sign in, it says, hey, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And this isn't restrictive at all. Apple just wants to see what you're interested in. So if you're kindergarten or elementary or middle school, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put high school. And it says, what subjects do you teach? And so I'm just going to pick social science and computer science. You can pick as much as you want. And then it says, hey, how experienced are you with Apple? Are you brand new? Are you experienced? Or are you a power user? I'll put, yeah, I'm kind of experienced. I could get better. And I'm going to accept the terms. And I'm going to hit submit. And it says, hey, thank you. And so then I just got, and you can't see this here, but I just got an email that tells me I'm ready to go. And so I'm going to follow. that email, and then once I sign back in, I now get taken to what they call the Apple Teacher Learning Center. And it's in this Learning Center that you have the ability to start going through and getting badges, and ultimately getting the ultimate gold star, that of an Apple teacher. So I'll click Done, and I get taken to the main page. So I have News, Home, and Profile. Home is where I can pick my path. So I can either get badges for the iPad or badges for the Mac. So I'll start off with the Mac. And there's 8 different categories to learn about. And so if I start off here and I want to learn about just basic functions of the Mac, then I can click View, and it takes me in here. And it has starter guides, so it uses iBooks to go through and talk about different functions. You download the iBook, you can read through it, and then ultimately at the end, there's a quiz that you take. And after you take that quiz, if you pass it, you get a badge. And the badges show up
Badges. Now we're talking.
the badges show up under your profile. And so you can see here there's iPad and Mac, and then all the badges there. And once you get all 8 badges for a particular category, you get an image that says you are Apple Teacher certified, and then you can add that image or that ultimate badge to your email signature, to websites that you have. And at that point, I would say email me or email Bridget, and we will get your name added to the Westside Hall of Fame of teachers that have become Apple Teacher certified.
So you can see on my screen, there are some that I have already earned.
No, not badgers, badges, Paul.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, that's pretty funny. So yeah, so it's kind of cool. So you go through, and I took them, and I went through some yesterday. Bridget started going through it yesterday. The quizzes are actually really well done. They focus on the important things. It's more than just what button do you push. There is some of that, but it's some scenarios like, I want my students to do this type of lesson. What sort of tools and in what order do I apply those tools do I want to do in order to accomplish my learning goal? So there's a lot of good stuff in there. The books are really high quality. They walk you through step by step everything that you need to know. I went through and previewed both the Mac and the iPad side, and both of them are equally good. So I think our elementary folks will really enjoy it with the iPads. I think our secondary folks will really enjoy it with the Macs. And I think this is something that I would highly encourage everybody to take advantage of.
Okay, so just another example of resources that are easily available to us anytime, anywhere we want to use them to really facilitate personalized learning for our staff members. Well, guys, I think we've reached the end of our time. Any last words before we head on the road to our next events for today?
I would just say, just remember to, anytime you're online, posting, Facebook, Twitter, you're creating your digital footprint, and it's really hard for that footprint to ever go away. So just always being conscious of when you're online, posting different things, that you're, making sure that you're thinking through a very safe lens.
My last word is the thought of that there's really only 2 kinds of hard drives in computers: those that have failed and that are going to fail. So remember, we just want to encourage everybody to, the most important documents that you have on your computers, make sure that you're getting them in your Google Drive so they can sync up to your Google Drive account, or invest in a very cost-effective and easy-to-obtain external hard drives that you can use Time Machine to back up your important files. So once you have a hard drive failure, it's too late. So plan ahead and get your stuff backed up ahead of time, please.
And I would echo both of those. I really enjoyed the comments about the Attorney General. I would also point out, if you want to see some more specifics, I noticed the Westside Twitter feed was kind of live tweeting the event. So you can always go to the Westside Twitter account, scroll through the timeline, and be able to see some more of the tips and advice that the Attorney General gave last night for cyber safety.
Okay, well, that's a wrap on episode 6, and hopefully we won't have such a long time in between, so that I can actually remember how to run the technology of this system between. I forget in between these episodes. So,
well, Dr. Lindgren, that's important for the director of technology to know how to do that. So
yeah,
I would concur. We should do it more often.
Agreed.
Well, have a good day, guys, and thanks everyone for joining us and putting up with us. And hope you learned some things from our little episode here today. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good one.